Hi, and welcome to the third video in this series. We are looking at problem solving and programming. We have already completed our defining diagram. We have also completed our algorithm. So let us look at the defining diagram quickly, just to review. We have our defining diagram with the inputs, our processing, which we use in the algorithm, our outputs. And if we look at our algorithm, here we can see that the algorithm is a very close copy of our defining diagram. So now we're going to look at attempting the trace table. What the trace table is really doing is walking through the algorithm line by line or in a sequential order, and we are using actual figures and names and looking at the outputs at each stage of the algorithm. So let us look at doing this now, and let us get our names firstly. So we have a set of names here which we're going to use 15 names because we are assuming that there are 15 persons in our IT class. We have our 15 names of our kids and the marks they got, and we're going to use these to do our trace table. Let us look first what is going on in our algorithm. We have two loops, our for loop where all our processing and inputs are, and we have our while loop which is our outputs. So we're going to utilize these loops, and of course these loops are from 1 to 15 each of them, so which means in our trace table we must have two loops. So let us go to our trace table, two loops from 1 to 15. So let us put this in now. 1, I simply just drag this down to get my 15. Yes, those series, that's 12. Let us get 3 more. There we go. So I have my 1 to 15, that's my first loop. And then on the job, I will go my second loop again, starting at 1 and dragging it down till I get 15. Let me see how much that is. Okay, that's a little more than 15, so let us remove others we don't need. Okay, so that's the first thing I did. I got my two loops going from 1 to 15 each. In my first loop, let us see what's going on in the first loop. In the first loop we initialize, but right after initialize we put into names and marks, we put information into names and marks. We put all the students' names and all the marks. So let us put this in our first loop. And it's easy to do this once we have the students' names and marks side by side. You can simply copy and paste. This is exactly what is happening. So we have our students' names and the marks in our first loop. After we had our students' names and marks, what are the next thing we do? We found the increases. And the increases is dependent on the marks that are given. If the marks are over 70, then we increase by 5%. If it's between 60 and 70, we increase by 2%. And if it's between 50 and 60, we increase by 1%. So let us look at doing this in our trace table, our increase. Now you can simply just find the percentage based on the marks, but I'm going to do a f function, and we're going to simply put if, and if our marks is more than or equal to 70, then what do? We find 5% of that, so then this is multiplied by 5 divided by 100. Else if, so we have our else if mark is more than or equal to 60. Of course, it's embedded in the function that once we have 70 first, then the mark can only go from 60 to 70. So we don't need to state and mark is less than 70. That's already included in the function. So if it's more than 60, then what do? We multiply mark by 2%, which is 2 over 100. Else, if mark is more than 50, then what do? We multiply mark by 1%. 1 divided by 100. Else, the increase will be 0. There we go. We have our f function. Let's see if it works. And there we go. We have our increase. And of course, in Excel makes it easy. We just simply drag down. And there is all of our increases for each one. Some of them are 0 because this is less than 50, so it's 0. All that are less than 50 are not more than 50 are 0. 70 we have all that are 70 multiplied by 5%. So this works. Okay, so we have our increases, which are 5%. Paying close attention to the ones that are less than 50, they're 0. And we have our 5, our 2, and our 1% respectively. The next thing in our algorithm, let's go to the next area in our algorithm, and the next area is new marks. And new marks is equals to the marks we have already plus the increase. So let's put that in